I passionately believe that the UK will be back. Don't lose faith in us. We're just having a moment of madness. We have one every 200 or 300 years, I think. So I think we will be back.
Hi, Christine. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Lexi.
Great. Are you ready to start?
Mm-hmm.
So, could you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Christine Lester from the UK. I started a company 30 years ago, just as a normal training company, because I wanted to do management and leadership and administration. And then about 10 years later, I started another company, which is more a not-for-profit and which is about community. So it enabled us to do community projects, mainly with European partners.
What is your relationship with Brexit?
Gosh. And I must say the referendum devastated me. I thought it would be close, but I didn't think it would be. I didn't think the UK would actually leave. I was actually coming back from a European project, and I was in Schiphol airport, and my husband had gone off to get a drink or something or other, and this elderly lady shouted across to me, "You're not really going to leave us, are you?" I couldn't think what she meant immediately, and then all of a sudden I thought, the referendum tomorrow. She said, we owe you so much, you really can't leave us. And that made me think, really, of all the places I'd been all over Europe, and I'd seen row upon row of young men who'd gone out to Belgium, France, my own father. And I thought, yes, we are leaving. We're leaving all that part of our life. So I could understand how she felt, but it was nice to know that she felt that everybody owed us something. That was a nice thought.
I must admit that I had never considered that indeed we owed part of our freedom. I'm French, as you know, to the UK because you fought for us during the Second World War with the other side, the Russian. And now I would like to ask you the reverse question. What is your relationship with Europe?
Well, until you asked me that question right when we first met, I hadn't really given it a lot of thought, but obviously since then I have. And I think, first of all, it goes right back to the very first memory that I ever had. I couldn't have been much more than 4 or 5. And I was washing my doll in a bowl of water. I'd taken all its clothes off and I was washing this doll. And all of a sudden the door burst open and this man came in, and I wasn't used to men because there was just my mother and I all through the war. This would have been 1945 or 1946, something like that. I don't know how quickly my father came home after the end of the war. But that was my father that I didn't even know. He was a strange man to me. He was in uniform. He had a kit bag over his shoulder with all his kit in. My mother screamed and ran to him, and I just stood there. I can actually almost see myself. I just stood there totally bemused. I couldn't think who this man was and what was he doing in our house. So really that's the very first memory of him coming home. He'd been all the way around Europe, mainly a lot of the time spent in Italy, and then on to the Middle East. So all the places he talked about. As I grew up, luckily he was Cockney, and Cockney's London born. He was a real Cockney. They love talking in stories, so we got all the stories of where he'd been, what he'd done, and things he'd seen, even the most horrible ones. He would tell us. He didn't hide anything. So really that was my childhood days. And then he was still in the RAF when I was 16. He didn't come out till I was 16 years of age. So really that was 11, 12 years of hearing these stories of Europe.
Now that Brexit has occurred, what are Brexit's main impacts on the educational opportunities you had, the project, or even your relationship with Europe?
Well, as I said, the referendum really devastated me for more than a personal. It was business as well. So it was my whole life in a way. I'd got to see where my father had been throughout these countries. I'd got to experience and make friends with European partners. And if you're working with them for 2 to 3 years, they really do become almost family. You know their husbands, you know their children, you know where they live, you've had dinners with them, you've worked hard with them. Sometimes you've disagreed with them. That's a cultural and a language difficulty to be overcome. And I felt that 20 years of that had got to be worth something. The knowledge that we generated through all those projects. Why were we throwing it away? Why were we saying the UK is not part of this knowledge anymore? We helped to generate it. We helped to put it into some kind of formation, or as we say, codify it. And then we disseminated it. That's what it should be about. It's creating education for the future. And I want my grandchildren to have the same opportunities that I had. They know where I've been. I bring them back a little toy everywhere I go, and I say, this is from Estonia, or this is from Latvia, and this is what they make in Lithuania. So they've grown up almost knowing where all the 27 other countries are. And I wanted that to continue. I didn't want to break that.
I need to say that I'm really, really admirative of your work. You've been an activist for more than 20 years, and just for that, big round of applause. So Christine, can you tell us a bit more about your commitment for Europe and notably the projects that you led?
So some of the projects that I've done are, the very first project I did 20 years ago was a project called QUATS, and it stands for Qualifying on the Spot. And it's about how to recognise people's work ethic and what they've done in the workplace, rather than them going to college or university. It's their experience. And I feel now with the pandemic, and all the countries in the world have got to develop again. We've lost such a terrific amount of our workforce. Companies have changed, our whole ethos has changed. So QUATS is, I say, 20 years old, but it's so relevant today. It's absolutely spot on. It's about people getting credit for what they've already achieved.
Now heading on to the last question. What is the message you want to tell to other Europeans?
The lost opportunities for the future. There's so much more I would like to do. I don't know whether I'll be around, but I passionately believe that the UK will be back. Don't lose faith in us. We're just having a moment of madness. We have one every 200 or 300 years, I think. So I think we will be back. What our role will be in Europe, I don't know. I hope we can play the same part that we have done in the past 20, 30 years. I hope we can benefit from what Europe has to give us now. I want to do so much, but it may be, a politician told me the other day, it could be 10 years before the UK makes it back into Europe.
Thank you, Christine. I will remember one striking moment during this interview. You have told us so many anecdotes, and I think it is important for us to learn from your generation. You witnessed the building of Europe and the EU, so you know what you're talking about. And sometimes our young generation forgets that. We forgot that we haven't seen its construction, we haven't seen the pain and also the compromises made. So sometimes we just need to be a bit more grateful about what has been achieved. Thank you very much. I wish you an excellent day. And for you, dear audience, Thank you so much for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoyed this portrait.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to sound off, because I'm still very upset.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you,
And
Lexi. Have a good day.
have a good day.